What's going on, everybody? Today, we're going to be talking about this winter into spring market shift. We're seeing price drops. We're also seeing markets get more competitive. So, we're going to break that down. We got our resident expert here, Lourdes, going to break down some real estate topics for us. Because a lot of people, have some concerns going into 2025's housing market, right? From an economic standpoint, I know a lot of federal employees are losing their jobs. So on one side, we see people, slowing down their home search, while others are actually increasing that and going like, hey, I need to buy a house now before we go into that spring and summer market. So Lourdes, kind of walk us through what happens in a normal winter market and what happens in the spring and summer markets for consumers looking to become homeowners or even first-time sellers.
Yeah, so it really depends on where you're at because I am seeing some things like in Washington, D.C., there's like the most like inventory they've had ever right now. So, it's very important to pay attention to what's going on all over the world. Here in the Chicagoland area, I am seeing like more pickup. All my listings are under contract, which is great. So there's a huge transition, and it just depends on your specific area. So pay attention to that. Here in the Chicagoland area, we have a really slow winter when buyers are able to get good deals, closing costs, credit paid. As soon as the spring market hits, multiple offers, everybody's outside. I don't know what the cold weather does to people. It
It's
keeps them
freezing.
inside the house. So it's very important. And even in certain areas of Chicago, for example, there are some areas that are still really high and never slow down. And
Right.
there's some areas that, you can get a little bit of a deal. So just knowing what the market looks like, you can easily, even if you're on like Zillow, you can see like when a property sells and what have you, you can see the fluctuation up and down. Are they at list price? Are they priced over what they need to be priced at, under, and stuff like that?
Yeah, and definitely, and like Lourdes mentioned, with a lot of these platforms online that you can look for real estate, they also have a section in there that says just sold. So you can actually go see what properties have sold, I think typically the last couple of months. So you can kind of see what the trending data is. And for a lot of people, when you're looking at home ownership, like, hey, like today I want to purchase a property and I want to know, am I getting a good deal on a place? I think what you really have to step back and look at is that, can you afford what the market is allowing for today? Because the longer you wait, historically, values go up. And even if rates were to drop, because everybody also is kind of in this weird, hey, I'm waiting for mortgage rates to drop. And I know we harp on this so much, but if rates drop, then all the people on the sidelines come into the housing market and it negates any savings that you had. And even when like the last couple of years, the rates have just been higher. And last year in like November, they had a bit, or it was like October, November, had a big drop in them. And a lot of people took advantage of refinancing and they saved on average about $300 a month.
Yeah.
Now that equates to roughly, right, just depending on where you're at with numbers and for educational purposes, about $50,000 in a mortgage payment. So that's pretty significant. I mean, not 50,000 in a mortgage payment, 50,000 in like value. So a lot of people that lock in equity early are just in a better position. But the kind of like now that flip side, right? When we see sellers selling in the winter market, now depends on where you're at in the country, right, Lourdes? Because in the Midwest, up north, freezing cold. And then I think the opposite happens in the southern states where it's a lot warmer, where people are moving to. So the market could be heated up a little bit. But I know that lately in the last year, people which are moving down south are facing more insurance challenge issues. And so for everybody out there, kind of as a bonus tip, and I did a video on this not long ago, talking about how your mortgage payment changes. Now, it typically changes in the beginning of the year. So if you get a mortgage statement, because you may have auto pay set up, you're not checking it every month, you may see like a big increase in your monthly mortgage payment, and that could be due to two things. One, your taxes going up, because historically real estate taxes go up. And the second thing is that you need to check your homeowner's insurance, because on the anniversary of your closing, you're gonna see typically a bill increase. And lawyers, you and I have seen that with clients that or just people that reach out that just don't track that. Yeah, even Lourdes. Or if you have VA disability, same thing. They could change the laws, or if you don't have the 100% permanent total and you are then subject to yearly submission, and you mix that, all of a sudden your house is going into foreclosure. We've seen it all. That's why it's so important to stay on top of these things.
Mhm.
But again, on a different note, for the winter market, people that are typically selling, the reason why, at least I feel, and always tell me what you think, is that if you're selling in the winter market, you're typically selling for a reason, right? It's an estate sale like I did with my property. It might be a divorce situation. It might be hey, we need to move because of a work relo. And I think that also that's why we're seeing that in, I think when you mentioned Washington, you mean like Washington, D.C., right? Like,
Correct.
yeah,
Yeah.
we see a huge price, I think, drops, and also huge listings because of all the people that lost their jobs. So again, it's circumstantial. What are your thoughts on that, Lourdes?
Yeah, so definitely important to look at what's going on in the area. And, you might say, like, oh, wow, this is a great deal time right now, but
Right.
be careful because it might even go further down in certain areas. I know even Florida does have, I know Miami has a big surplus of inventory as well because of the insurance issue, which you mentioned. So pay attention to these things. See, how many is it? Typically, we're on about a 3 month inventory, and we have been pretty consistent with that. But if you are a lot in a market, going into a market that's a lot higher, pay attention to that because that's very important, and see what's going on with these insurance quotes. Personally, my insurance went up to $5,000 a year, and I'm like, why is my insurance why is my mortgage going up so high? So I had to call around, and I got my insurance down to 3,100, which was very similar to what I first started 3 years ago. So, excuse me, every single year it does, and it can go up. So just like how you said, we had another client that reached out, and he was like, "Why do I have an increase of $500 per month?" And it's like we have to look at the pins because there's two two property pins, and it's just all these factors and all these things, which is kind of annoying. So we have to like really look into like what's going on with the increase, and then also just like how you said, really hone in to like what's going on with that local area. Be uber focused and see if that's somewhere where you want to invest in.
Yeah, and that's the thing with real estate. It's very hyper focused to your area, because you can go a couple blocks over and completely different pricing.
Completely.
Then that's just kind of like where it's at by me. So I see this in real time. Now, right now, as we go into the spring market and you're thinking about purchasing a property, you're thinking about selling. So for sellers, like, you probably want to wait till it's prime time, right? Spring, summer. If you're a buyer, you want people to list their home during the fall and winter time, right? Where it's the least amount of activity. So for active duty people, right, that are PCSing, people are looking, like, I get a lot of phone calls right now. Hey, we're looking to move in May, June, July. Like, that's going to be a very competitive market.
Yeah.
So just be ready for that. And, Loris, I don't know if you have any tips on, if you're forced to buy in the summer market, and you know this right now, is there strategies that you need to start mentally preparing for, so when it comes to the spring market, you're ready for that?
Oh, get ready. um, get ready because the spring market is always, you have to see the properties as soon as possible. So if you're in the market and you have no choice to be in that market, I know there's a lot of PCS that happens during that time. And for those that don't know what PCS is, it's when you change from duty stations when you're active duty service member. So when you do when you do PCS in the summer, it's a little wild. It's like wild wild west out there. You have to see the properties as soon as possible. Get ready to pay for closing costs. Get ready to just move very very quickly and efficiently. Having a good team on your side is critical. I want to say because your lender. Your lender needs to make sure that they call them and say like, hey, this person's solid. We're going to get the deal done. I have X amount of experience. I think that that's very important that they do. And the first one to like submit the in this transition period between the winter and the spring market, people are still kind of using the valuations from the winter. They're still using like, hey, they got closing costs, they got this. So you can't even really top out too high, meaning you can't really offer, sometimes even like if they're overpriced, you have to also watch the numbers and make sure that you're not going to have an appraisal issue.
Right.
So that's going to be, we're going to see a lot of those as well. And if the property doesn't appraise, then you have a few things. In a very competitive market, there's a thing called an appraisal gap waiver, meaning you'll pay a little bit over what the appraiser is up to a certain amount. And
Preset.
that, huh?
Yeah, you preset that. Is that right? Like
You
if it,
preset that
yeah,
in the offer. Yeah, and that can give you a little bit of a competitive edge because you can have someone that for example, I had someone who $40,000 over, and then I had someone right where the market was with a $10,000 appraisal gap, and it's a $40,000 difference. And I advised my seller to take the one with the appraisal gap waiver just because there was no comparables to support that. Even if we had 26 offers, there's no way that's going to go $40,000 over. So the appraisal gap waiver had more weight than something that was like really overpriced. Because what some agents do is they'll go up as high and say, don't worry. During the appraisal, we can always just renegotiate, and they'll come down to the price. And in a competitive market, that is not the case. So they'll say like, oh, we have X amount of other offers. If any of these are willing to take the appraisal gap waiver or be able to do this, then we're going to take that offer. So just that is one suggestion. Make sure if you are in the spring market to save money for closing costs. Closing costs is just depends on certain areas. In the
right,
Chicagoland area, it's close to about $10,000 ish, but it can change very quickly with the price
right.
point and things like that. But just make sure you understand what those costs are, and if you are purchasing during that time, save that money so you have it and you have a little bit more leverage just in case you're in a competitive situation.
That's awesome, Lourdes. Thank you for that. Almost feel like that's a bonus tip for what we're talking about because there is that transition, right? From the winter market, winter appraisals to the spring to summer, pretty easy. Summer to fall, pretty easy, right? But so that's why you just really have to stay on top of the market and make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button on the video if you guys get some good value from this. Make sure you guys check out the live events and search the channel on different topics that you're interested in learning about because we have over 250 videos just talking about all the various aspects of the VA home loan, and there's more videos to come. So we'll catch you guys soon. Lourdes, thanks again for joining us today.